This story is titled, When My Parents Dismissed My Feelings About the Family Dinner, I Finally Understood My Place in Their Lives, so I cut them off and later found 32 missed calls from various family members. Hey Reddit, I'm Daniel, 30 years old, and I've been stuck in classic middle child hell for most of my life. My older brother Nathan, 33, is the golden child investment banker who can do no wrong in my parents' eyes. My younger sister Jessica, 27, is the eternal baby princess of the family. Despite having 2 kids of her own, she's still treated like she's 5 years old. The favoritism in our family has always been blatant. Nathan could literally commit insider trading, and my parents would just call it strategic market research. Jessica continues to be babied despite being a mother of 2. Meanwhile, I'm just existing in their massive shadows, trying to carve out my own identity. My parents have never been subtle about playing favorites. Their retirement plan is literally, Nathan will take care of us with his banker money. Every family dinner inevitably becomes the Nathan show. Nathan closed this amazing deal. Nathan bought a new Mercedes. Nathan breathed today and it was absolutely magnificent. The worship is endless and exhausting. I remember one time when I received Teacher of the Year at my school, a genuine accomplishment I was proud of. When I mentioned it during dinner, hoping for just a moment of recognition, my dad literally said, "That's nice. Pass the lasagna." He didn't even look up from his plate. I'm not even joking. That was the full extent of their acknowledgement. 5 years ago, I committed what my family considers the ultimate crime. I married Rebecca, who's now 29. My parents hate her because she's not refined enough for our prestigious Thompson family. According to them, her flaws are numerous. She laughs too loudly, speaks her mind too freely. And worst of all, she didn't attend their precious Ivy League schools. Rebecca is a preschool teacher, which my mother dismissively calls glorified babysitting. The irony isn't lost on me that my mother expects Rebecca to watch Jessica's demon spawn every weekend while simultaneously looking down on her profession. We're known as the education couple in a family obsessed with corporate success, as if teaching the next generation is somehow a lesser calling. At Christmas 3 years ago, my dad asked Rebecca when she was planning to get a real job, because according to him, playing with children all day can't be fulfilling. She almost stabbed him with a fork. Honestly, I wouldn't have stopped her if she had. The disrespect was unbelievable. For years, I've been killing myself trying to earn their approval. I attend every family function without complaint. I listen to hours of Nathan worship. I convince Rebecca to watch Jessica's kids whenever she asks because it's the least we can do for family. My parents' words, not mine. I've tried so hard to be the good son they want, but it's never enough. Nothing I do is ever enough. What my family doesn't know is that I've been working my ass off with side hustles for years. I do online tutoring until midnight most days, curriculum development on weekends, educational consulting gigs, and I teach summer school every year. All of this extra work isn't just to make ends meet. I've been saving up for something big, something that I thought might finally make them proud. They think I'm just scraping by on a teacher's salary. My dad actually had the audacity to suggest I should get a side gig to contribute more to the family while I was literally taking a break from my 3rd job of the day. The irony was so thick I could barely breathe. But of course I didn't say anything. I never do. And then there's how they treat Rebecca. They use her like a free nanny service without an ounce of appreciation. Jessica will literally text her, "Watching the twins tomorrow 8 a.m. thanks." Not a question, not a request, just an assumption that Rebecca's time belongs to her. The entitlement is staggering. Last winter, when Rebecca had pneumonia, I asked if anyone in my family could drop off some medicine since I was stuck at work. There was dead silence in the family group chat. 5 days later, my mom finally texted, "Is she still sick?" Super helpful. That's the extent of concern they show for my wife's well-being. My mom has this insane way of dismissing everything we do. Last month, I told her how one of my struggling students finally had a breakthrough and was now reading at grade level. A huge accomplishment in special education. Her response? "That's sweet, honey. But have you seen Nathan's new article in the Financial Times?" She didn't even wait for me to answer before shoving her phone in my face with Nathan's stupid article pulled up. For years, I've been telling myself that they'll eventually come around. That one day they'll see how hard we work, how much we try to contribute, how much we care. I kept making excuses for them. They're from a different generation. They show love differently. Family is complicated. All that BS we tell ourselves when we don't want to admit our family sucks. Then came the family gathering that changed everything. I finally realized I wasn't imagining a damn thing. Let me give you some context. These monthly family dinners have been happening since I was a kid. First Sunday of every month, like clockwork, the whole extended Thompson family comes over. It's like a sacred tradition in our family. My parents' house becomes a showcase for everyone's success. New promotions, vacations, purchases, all get announced and celebrated. Except mine, of course. I once mentioned getting a raise, and my uncle asked if that meant I could finally afford a new car. I was driving a perfectly fine 2-year-old Honda, but whatever. Last month, I got this text from my mom. Daniel, honey, we're canceling the monthly family dinner tomorrow. Your father and I are just so tired. Money's been tight lately. Maybe next month. I've gotten texts like this before, and they always make me feel like shit. Like I'm not important enough to make the effort for. But this time was different, because I had something huge planned. I had been saving up for years, doing extra tutoring, teaching summer school, writing curriculum on the side, and taking on educational consulting projects that my family doesn't even know about. All of this extra work was for one purpose: to buy my parents a new SUV. Their old minivan was basically held together with duct tape and prayers at this point. I had already put down the deposit and signed the paperwork. I was planning to surprise them at this dinner. One big financial sacrifice to finally prove I was worth something in their eyes. I texted back, "No problem, Mom. Hope you guys get some rest." Then I thought, hey, maybe I'll just drop by anyway and surprise them with the car keys. Make it an even bigger gesture. Rebecca thought I was being too generous, but she supported me anyway because she's literally the best person I know. When we drove over there, what do I see? Cars everywhere. Nathan's Mercedes, Jessica's Mini Cooper, my uncle's Range Rover, my aunt's Lexus, my cousin's vehicles. The whole Thompson extended universe was basically parked along the street. "What the hell?" Rebecca says, gripping my arm. We parked across the street and just sat there for a minute. Rebecca was looking at me with those eyes. She knew exactly what was happening, but was waiting for me to catch up. "Maybe it's something last minute," I suggested weakly. "Daniel," Rebecca said in that tone that means to stop bullshitting myself. We got out and walked to the house. Through the windows, I could see everyone. My parents, Nathan, Jessica, aunts, uncles, cousins, all gathered around a massive spread. They were laughing, passing dishes around. Nathan was standing to make some toast. It was the regular monthly dinner they had claimed to cancel. I rang the doorbell. My mom opened it, and her face did this thing where she was trying to look happy to see me, but was actually super annoyed. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" she asked, blocking the doorway like she was a bouncer at a club I wasn't cool enough to get into. "I got your text about canceling dinner," I said, feeling something hard forming in my chest. "Looks like you guys figured it out anyway." She didn't even try to hide her irritation. "Well, yes, but this is different. This is for people who actually contribute to the family." I blinked, stunned by her bluntness. "What?" "Oh, don't act surprised," my mom said with an eye roll. "Nathan just made senior VP at his firm, and Jessica's husband got that big promotion. Everyone here has something to celebrate and talk about. You would just sit in silence if we invited you. I mean, what have you done lately?" "Still just teaching." "Still." My jaw literally dropped. "Are you serious right now?" She waved her hand dismissively. "It's nothing personal, Daniel. We just wanted a night to celebrate success. It would have been uncomfortable for you." Behind her, Nathan raised his glass with that smug little smirk of his. My dad didn't even bother to get up. He just looked annoyed at the interruption. I could see my whole extended family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone who's known me my whole life. All happily participating in a dinner I wasn't good enough to be invited to. "We're having a celebration for successful people," my mother continued. "Maybe when you get a real job or do something worth celebrating, you can join us." Rebecca stepped forward. "How dare you?" she said, her voice trembling with anger. I put my arm out to stop her. "It's not worth it," I said quietly. A strange calm came over me. This was it. The confirmation of what I'd always known but tried to deny. "You know what's funny, Mom?" I said with a small smirk. "I was actually coming over to surprise you with a very nice gift. I've been saving for 3 years to buy it for you. It's sitting at the dealership right now, paid in full. But you definitely don't deserve it." Her eyes widened in shock. "What is it, Daniel? Wait!" "Goodbye, Mom," I said. "Enjoy your celebration." I turned and walked away with Rebecca as my mother called after me. I didn't look back, even as I heard her calling my name. The door closed with a final sounding click behind us. "Did that just happen?" Rebecca whispered as we walked back to the car. "Yeah," I said, feeling weirdly calm. "But you know what? It's the last time it's ever going to happen." We got back in the car and just sat there. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tight that my knuckles were white. Rebecca was crying next to me, not because she was sad, but because she was so mad. That's my wife for you. She doesn't cry when she's hurt. She cries when she's pissed. "I'm so sorry," I said, feeling like I needed to apologize for subjecting her to my toxic family all these years. "Don't you dare apologize for them," she snapped. "They're horrible people." "At least now we can use that SUV money for something better," I said, trying to find a silver lining. Rebecca shook her head. "I still can't believe you told them about the car like that." The look on your mom's face, though. She actually let out a small laugh through her tears. "I know you thought buying them a car was too much," I sighed. "You were right all along." "Hey," she said, taking my hand. "I supported the decision because I knew how much it meant to you, to try one last time. But Daniel, they don't deserve you. They never have." "Not anymore," I said, pulling out my phone and dialing the dealership. The salesman sounded confused when I explained the situation. "But Mr. Thompson, you were so excited about surprising your parents," he said. "The car is all ready to go." "Yeah, well, plans change," I told him. "They won't be needing it after all." When I hung up, Rebecca was looking at me with a weird mix of pride and concern. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Not really," I answered honestly. "But I will be." That night we ordered Chinese takeout, put on a stupid comedy, and tried to pretend everything was normal. But my phone kept blowing up with texts from my family. Not apologies, mind you, but demands. "Mom, Daniel, I need you to watch Jessica's kids on Thursday. She has an important event." "Dad, your mother says you're being difficult. Stop it immediately." "Nathan, dude, Mom's pissed you showed up last night. You know those dinners are for family contributors only." "Jessica, can you and Rebecca take the kids this weekend? Also, can you bring those educational toys you mentioned last time?" I blocked their numbers, turned my phone off, and tossed it on the coffee table. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. "Not going to respond?" "Nope," I said, taking a huge bite of Kung Pao chicken. "I'm officially on strike from the Thompson family circus." "About damn time," she said with a satisfied smile. For the next 3 weeks, it was like I was living in a whole new world. No more scrambling to please people who would never be pleased. No more dreading Sunday dinners where I was invisible unless someone needed something. But since they couldn't reach me by phone, my parents showed up at our apartment twice. We didn't answer the door. They left notes about how disappointingly immature I was being and how I was breaking your mother's heart, as if they hadn't broken mine first. I tossed the notes in the trash without a second thought. Then something unexpected happened. One of my educational apps took off. Like really took off. The side project I'd been working on for years, an interactive reading program for struggling students, got featured in major education publications. Suddenly, I was getting offers. Big offers. For 3 years, I'd been building this program in secret, testing it with my students, refining it on nights and weekends. My family didn't even know about it because they never bothered to ask what I was working on. To them, it was just Daniel's little teaching thing. Now, a major educational publisher wanted to buy it. The number they were offering had more zeros than I'd ever seen in my bank account. Rebecca screamed when I showed her the email. We're talking life-changing money, the kind of money my family would actually respect. I was starting to think maybe this clean break might work when my Aunt Julie called. She's the cool one, who's always been decent to Rebecca and me. I answered because Julie's never been part of the toxic mess. "Daniel," she said, her voice all hushed like she was telling state secrets. "Have you heard about Nathan?" "What about him?" I asked, trying not to sound too interested. I'd been doing so well with the whole dead-to-me family situation. "He got fired 3 months ago," she said, her voice still that dramatic whisper. I nearly dropped my phone. "What? That big Morgan Stanley deal he totally botched. He missed crucial deadlines, then tried to cover it up. Cost the firm millions in losses. They canned him immediately." I was struggling to process this. He was just at that family dinner, toasting and bragging, being his usual douchey self. "It's all an act, Daniel," Julie continued. "He's been pretending he's on some kind of sabbatical, but he's actually been unemployed, just scraping by on odd consulting jobs. The golden child, the retirement plan, the favored son, unemployed." "Hell yeah," I couldn't help but say. "But how do you know this?" I asked. "My neighbor's son works at the same firm. Office gossip," Nathan swore him to secrecy, but you know how that goes. After I hung up, I sat there for a good 20 minutes just processing. The whole family dynamic was built around Nathan's success. My parents had invested everything in him, emotionally and practically, because he was their ticket to a comfortable retirement. And he'd been lying to everyone for months. Part of me felt sorry for him. A bigger part felt something like vindication. And honestly, a small petty part of me was secretly thrilled. After years of being compared to Nathan the amazing banker, finding out he was actually Nathan the unemployed fraud felt satisfying. Then my phone rang again. It was Nathan himself. "Speak of the devil." "Hey," he said, sounding nothing like the smug asshole from the family dinner. "Can we meet for coffee or something?" "Why?" I asked, not even trying to sound friendly. There was a long pause. I need to talk to someone who isn't mom or dad. We met at this neutral coffee shop halfway between our places. Nathan looked like shit. Unshaven, wearing a hoodie instead of his usual designer clothes. If I didn't know better, I'd think he was cosplaying as a regular person. "So," I said after we got our drinks, "sabbatical going well?" He looked up sharply. "Who told you?" "Does it matter?" I replied. "It's true, isn't it?" He deflated, stirring his coffee obsessively. "I fucked up, Daniel," he admitted. "Really fucked up. That Morgan Stanley deal. I missed crucial deadlines, then tried to cover it up. They found out. And our parents think you're still the golden boy banker," I said flatly. "I couldn't tell them," he almost shouted, then lowered his voice. "You know how they are. Their whole world revolves around my success, their retirement plans, their status with their friends." "Must be tough being the favorite," I said, not even trying to hide the bitterness. He actually laughed. "You think being the favorite is easy? The pressure, the expectations. At least nobody expects anything from you. You can just be a teacher and everyone's fine with it." I stared at him in disbelief. "Are you serious right now?" "Nobody's fine with me being a teacher," I told him. "Mom introduces me as Daniel who's still figuring things out. Dad asked me last Christmas when I was going to get a real job. They excluded me and my wife from a family dinner because we're not impressive enough. Nathan at least had the decency to look ashamed." "I didn't know they did that." "Of course you didn't," I said. "You were too busy raising your glass to me through the window." He winced. "Look, I'm sorry, okay? I've been a dick, but I'm drowning here. I've got student loans, credit card debt, and now no income. I can't keep lying to mom and dad." "So don't," I shrugged. "Tell them the truth." "I can't," he said desperately. "Not yet. I just need a little more time to find something else." He looked at me with desperate eyes. "I heard you might be coming into some money soon. Your education app thing?" I froze. "How do you know about that?" "Julie mentioned it. Said you were working on some app that was getting attention." He leaned forward. Can you lend me some money? Just to get through the next month or two? I'll pay you back, I swear." And there it was. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. "What's so funny?" he demanded. "The universe, man," I said, shaking my head. "It's got a sick sense of humor." I got up to leave. "So you won't help me?" he called after me. "Nope," I said, popping the P for emphasis. I spent years trying to get a scrap of approval from this family. Forcing my wife to babysit Jessica's kids. Working 3 jobs to buy mom and dad an effing car. And the one time I needed to be treated like an actual member of this family, you all slammed the door in my face. So no, I won't be helping. Won't be. Walking out of that coffee shop, I felt like I was in some alternate universe. Nathan, the perfect son, the successful banker, the retirement plan, was secretly a disaster. And now he wanted me to bail him out with my new success. The irony was almost too much. When I got home and told Rebecca about the Nathan situation, she just sat there, mouth open for a solid minute. "So, let me get this straight," she finally said. "Golden Boy lost his job 3 months ago, has been lying to everyone, and now wants you to give him money from your app deal?" "Yep." "And you said get bent?" "Well, not in those exact words," I replied, but the message was clear. She threw her arms around me. "I'm so proud of you. The old Daniel would have emptied our savings account to help him. She was right. The old Daniel would have bent over backwards to rescue Nathan, to earn his parents' approval, to be the good son, even when they treated him like crap. But that Daniel was gone now. I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop, because if there's one thing I know about my family, it's that they don't take rejection well. 2 days after the coffee with Nathan, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is your father. Call me immediately. Family emergency." Nice try, but I wasn't falling for that. I blocked the number and went back to grading papers. The next day, another unknown number texted, "Your mother is in the hospital. Call home." I blocked that one too. Then on Saturday morning, freaking 6 a.m., our doorbell started ringing like someone was being murdered. I dragged myself out of bed and peered through the peephole. It was my mom, looking absolutely furious. "I know you're in there, Daniel. Open this door right now," she shouted loud enough that I could hear her through the door. I glanced back at Rebecca, who was sitting up in bed looking concerned. "Should I?" I whispered. She shrugged. "It's your call. But remember what happened last time you gave them an inch." She was right. I went back to the door. "Mom, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Go home. Not until you talk to me face to face like an adult instead of hiding behind blocked phone numbers," she demanded. I took a deep breath and opened the door, but didn't invite her in. "What do you want?" She looked shocked that I actually opened up, then quickly rearranged her face into what I call her concerned parent expression, the one she uses when other people are watching. "Daniel, what is going on with you?" she demanded. "First, you throw a tantrum about a simple family dinner, telling me you brought a gift for us but didn't give it. Then you cut us off completely. We raised you better than this." "Did you?" I asked flatly. "Because from where I'm standing, you raised me to be a doormat. To give and never expect anything in return. To accept being treated like I'm less than Nathan or Jessica." "That is not true," she huffed indignantly. "We've always treated all our children equally." I actually laughed out loud at this absurdity. "Mom, you literally told me to my face that I wasn't invited to that dinner because I don't contribute to the family. You slammed the door in my face." She waved her hand dismissively. "You're exaggerating. I was just stressed that night. And besides, you do contribute less than Nathan and Jessica." "What about all those times I made Rebecca babysit Jessica's kids?" I countered. "What about all the family events I attended just to be ignored? What about the SUV I was going to buy you?" She paused. "What SUV?" "The brand new SUV I was going to surprise you with that night. The one I saved for 3 years to buy. The one sitting at the dealership right now." Her face changed, calculation replacing anger. You were going to buy us a car?" "Yes," I said. "But now it doesn't matter because I canceled it." She looked stunned. "But how could you afford that? You're a teacher." "I've been working side jobs for years, Mom. I developed an educational app that just got picked up by a major publisher. I'm about to get a 6-figure check, but you'll never see a penny of it." Her eyes widened at the mention of money. 6 figures for an app? "Daniel, sweetie, I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Why don't you come over for dinner tonight? We can talk about this. Your father will be so proud of your app thing." "No." "But Daniel, listen," she pressed, her voice suddenly dripping with sweetness. "You know your father and I have been struggling since Nathan. Well, since things haven't been the same. We've had to take out a second mortgage just to keep things afloat. And with you doing so well now, surely you can pitch in. It's only fair, isn't it? We're family." I stared at her, the desperation in her eyes making everything crystal clear. This wasn't about family. This was about money. About using me to bail them out of their mess. "So let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You spent years making me feel like I was worth nothing. Threw me out of your life the second I wasn't convenient. And now that Nathan can't support you, you want me to step up?" Her eyes narrowed. "Don't be so dramatic. You're the one making this difficult. Families help each other. We've been more than patient with you, but it's time you contribute." I shook my head in disbelief. Everything I've contributed was never enough, and it never will be. I'm done. I shut the door in her face, feeling lighter than I ever had before. Through the peephole, I watched her stand there for a moment, mouth open in shock. Then she turned and stormed off. "Well," Rebecca said from behind me, "that was something." "Yeah," I sighed. "But I feel that the real storm is just beginning. And boy, was I right about that." It started with the extended family. Aunt Martha left these tearful voicemails about how my parents might lose their house because of my selfishness. Uncle Steve, who I've seen maybe 3 times in the last decade, suddenly texted daily about family loyalty. Even my 80-year-old grandmother got dragged into this mess, calling to tell me she was disappointed in the man I'd become. I blocked them all one by one. It was like playing the world's most depressing game of whack-a-mole. But the flying monkeys weren't done. They evolved from guilt, tripping to outright threats. My cousin Rick, who works at the bank where Rebecca and I have our mortgage, hinted that he could make things difficult for us if I didn't step up and help the family. I reported him to the bank manager and moved our accounts the next day. The worst was when they started targeting Rebecca directly. My mom apparently decided that if she couldn't get to me, She'd go after my wife. She told anyone who would listen that Rebecca was the one poisoning me against the family, that she'd always been jealous of our close bond and other such complete bullshit. Some of Rebecca's coworkers started giving her weird looks. Parents at her preschool began asking invasive questions about our family situation. Someone even called in an anonymous concern to her director, claiming that Rebecca seemed emotionally unstable lately, and they were worried about the children under her care. Thankfully, her director knew it was garbage and tossed the complaint, but it was still unsettling. The final straw came when Jessica showed up at our apartment with her kids in tow at 7:30 on a Sunday morning. We were woken up by insistent knocking. I peered through the peephole to see my sister and her two hellspawn looking like they were dressed for church. I opened the door but blocked the entrance with my body. Jessica put on her best harried mom expression, saying she had an emergency and needed us to watch the kids for just a few hours. Before I could even respond, she was trying to usher her children past me into the apartment, saying over her shoulder that she'd be back by noon. I stepped fully into the doorway, preventing them from entering. Her kids looked confused. Jessica looked outraged. "No," I said simply. "What do you mean, no?" she sputtered. "Rebecca always watches them. It's the least you can do for your family." "Not anymore," I told her. I was done being used by this family. She dropped the act immediately. Her face hardened. "Our parents are right. You've changed, and not for the better. Rebecca has turned you against your own family." She asked if I didn't care that our parents were struggling, that Nathan was unemployed, that her husband was working overtime to try to help them since I wouldn't. "Mom told me about your app," she said, her voice dripping with entitlement. "You're making all this money now, and you won't even help your own family. That's disgusting, Daniel." I almost laughed. So that's what this was. Not an actual childcare emergency, but another attempt to get my newly discovered money, using her kids as props in this manipulation. It was a new low even for Jessica. I told her I was sorry her children had to witness this, but she needed to leave now. She refused to budge, raising her voice and saying she wasn't going anywhere until I faced my responsibilities. Her kids started getting upset, the younger one crying because mommy was yelling. Rebecca appeared behind me, still in her pajamas. She took one look at the situation and pulled out her phone. "You have 30 seconds to leave, or I'm calling the police and reporting you for harassment," she said, her finger hovering over the dial button. "I'm sure that'll look great at your country club." Jessica sputtered, called us both horrible names I won't repeat here, but finally grabbed her kids' hands and stormed off. The younger one was full-on sobbing now. I felt terrible for them. They didn't ask to be born into this mess of a family or to be used as manipulation tools by their mother. After they left, Rebecca and I sat on the couch in stunned silence for a while. "I can't believe she brought her kids into this," Rebecca said finally. "That's a whole new level of messed up." "That's the Thompson way," I replied with a sigh. "Use whatever leverage you have, no matter who gets hurt." Later that day, I got a string of furious texts from my parents about how I made my sister's children cry and turned away family in need. The narrative had already been completely twisted. In their version, Jessica had a genuine emergency, and I cruelly turned her away because I'm selfish and vindictive. It was at this point that I realized there's no winning with these people. No matter what I do or don't do, they'll find a way to make me the villain in their story. The only way to stop the game is to refuse to play. So that's what I did. I blocked every new number that popped up, set all my social media to private, warned my school's front office not to put through calls from anyone in my family, and started recording all interactions in case I needed evidence later. For the first time in my life, I put up real boundaries with my family. Not the flimsy kind that they've always trampled over, but solid, consequences-backed boundaries that I was prepared to enforce no matter what. And it worked. Gradually, the flying monkeys retreated, the calls and texts slowed down, and the ambushes stopped. Either they'd given up, or they'd moved on to more promising targets. 2 months after everything, I ran into my Uncle Steve at the hardware store. I braced myself for another lecture, but he just looked tired. He told me that Nathan was still in Chicago, working some entry-level financial analyst job and living in a studio apartment. My parents had to take out a second mortgage on their house to cover the debts Nathan left behind. Jessica and her husband had to pull their kids out of private school. Uncle Steve wasn't saying this to make me feel guilty. I could tell from his tone. He was just stating facts. Then he said something that actually surprised me. Maybe they're finally learning they can't always count on being bailed out. I nodded, not sure what to say, and he wished me well and walked away. That night I told Rebecca about the encounter. "Do you think they're really struggling?" she asked. "Probably," I said. but not in the catastrophic way they made it sound. They're just having to live within their means for the first time. And how do you feel about that? She asked, using her preschool teacher voice that always makes me smile. I thought about it for a minute. Honestly, I hope it teaches them something about consequences, about not taking people for granted, about what really matters. Rebecca nodded. And what about you? What matters to you now? I looked at her, my amazing wife who stood by me through all this insanity, and I realized how lucky I am, how much I've gained by letting go of people who never valued me. This, I said simply, us, building a life that's ours, not theirs. She smiled and squeezed my hand. Sounds pretty good to me. Everything after that started to settle down. I got used to not carrying my family issues around like a 50-pound weight on my back. 2 months after cutting off my family, my phone rang with an unknown Chicago number. It was Nathan. He wasn't calling to guilt trip me. He wasn't asking for money. He sounded different, humbled. He told me he'd been in therapy, that losing everything was actually the wake-up call he needed. He'd been doing a lot of thinking about our family, about how our parents pitted us against each other, about how he benefited from it while I suffered. I'm sorry, he said, for everything. You didn't deserve any of it. I waited for the other shoe to drop. The subtle dig, the request for help, the hidden manipulation. But it didn't come. Nathan told me he'd started over. The fancy banking career was gone. He was working at a small investment firm, making shit money, but actually helping people manage their retirement funds. He was living in a tiny apartment with secondhand furniture. For the first time in his life, he wasn't trying to impress anyone. Our parents were freaking out. Their golden child had not only fallen from grace, but seemed content with his new humble life. Their retirement plan had officially imploded. I heard about your app, he said. From Julie. Congrats, man. That's seriously impressive. Thanks, I replied cautiously. I'm not asking for money, he added quickly, as if reading my mind. I think I finally understand what you've been dealing with all these years, and I don't know how you put up with it for so long. Before we hung up, he told me something that blew my mind. I always envied you, you know. Me? The family disappointment? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You found something you're passionate about, he explained. You married someone you actually love, not someone mom and dad approved of. You built a life that's yours, not theirs. As for my parents and Jessica, there was radio silence. No apologetic phone calls, no heartfelt letters, no moments of realization. Just occasional updates from Nathan about their latest drama. The house they had to downsize from. The country club membership they had to give up. Jessica's husband leaving her after discovering her massive credit card debt. I realized that some people never change, never acknowledge their mistakes, never see beyond their own needs. That closure often doesn't come from them recognizing their wrongdoing, but from me finding peace despite it. Last week, I got a promotion to curriculum coordinator for the entire district. 5 years ago, I would have immediately called my parents, hoping for approval I'd never get. Instead, I celebrated with Rebecca and with friends who actually value me. Nathan sent a congratulatory text. My parents never even heard about it, and I'm fine with that. Better than fine. I'm thriving. The Thompson family monthly dinner still happens, I hear. They've moved on to glorifying some cousin who started a tech company. But now when I drive by my parents' house on that first Sunday of the month and see all those cars parked outside, I don't feel that ache of exclusion anymore. I just feel free. And oh, that SUV I was going to buy them? I used that money to start a college fund instead, for kids from low-income families. Every year, the Thompson First Generation Scholarship helps a student become the first in their family to go to college. It's the best revenge I could have imagined. Taking the money I once would have wasted trying to buy my family's love and using it to make a real difference instead. Turns out the greatest revenge against people who think you're nothing isn't proving them wrong. It's not needing to prove anything to them at all. When I look back at my face when I finally broke free from my toxic family and how I turned their rejection into something positive, I can honestly say I'm living my best life without their approval. And that's the most liberating feeling in the world.